Look at the back of any book and tell me what it is that you see. A description of what's inside, a neat little paragraph that gets you excited to explore the contents within these fine pieces of paper. Video games are actually no different to this. The back of the case always has a description of what you'll find yourself doing, along with some screenshots to help you get interested. However, I've noticed that these covers have seen a decline in quality over the years. Let me show you what I mean. Remember the 1980s? I don't. I wasn't born yet. The good old NES. Despite being born when the N64 was already on the way, this baby was my first console. You know, back when games were delivered within the confines of cheap, thin cardboard instead of the fancy plastic cases we have nowadays. A lot of people threw these things out. They were simply packaging after all, and that made them quite a commodity amongst game collectors. Funny story, back when I was a kid, I bought a lot of my N64 games new. I kept the cartridges on a shelf, but I held on to all of the boxes. I kept each and every one neatly and organized in the bottom drawer of my dresser. Then, one day when my mom was cleaning my room, she opens it up and she decides it's a great idea to throw them all in the trash. Thanks, Mom. Part of what made these boxes so special is, of course, what was written on the back. Back then, there was no internet to look up gameplay of the games. You simply had to rely on the backside of the game box to try and figure out whether it was a game you would enjoy or not. These often consisted of long paragraphs describing in depth just what to expect from the game. They even had some screenshots so you could see for yourself what exactly the game looked like. Games often had 2 or 3 screenshots showing how the game can offer some variety. Sometimes if you were lucky, you even got 4. And then shoved down at the very bottom was, the legal stuff. The stuff that no one wants to read, but it's there for legal reasons. This was all made absolutely minimal to save room for what matters, the information that's going to convince you to purchase the product. Let's look at the back of Final Fantasy for the NES. You got all of this text telling you what exactly to expect from the game. It goes on and on about the game's story, and you get 3 screenshots that are all very different. You got the world map, the overworld, and the battle system. And to top it all off, we get that beautiful seal of quality at the very bottom. Okay, that's cool. So why don't we take a look at a game released more recently? A PlayStation 3 game. Let's look at Far Cry 4. Oh my god, what happened? Those screenshots are so small. What is all of this text? How many languages are here? What's with the bright red warning?
Like this?
Yeah, I know who made the game. I don't care that it's the limited edition. Oh boy, you play. Yeah, we all love that, right? No? Oh good god, what the hell happened to the backs of video games? They used to be full of neat stuff, but now, the neat stuff is squished into a micro by all of this legal text and details on exclusive content. I don't care about any of that. I want to see why I might like the game. I want to see screenshots, and I shouldn't need a magnifying glass to do that. The reason behind all of this is quite obvious. It's the same reason games also don't include instruction manuals anymore. They simply don't need to. We live in the information age. If you wanted to learn about a game, you can just watch videos of it online, read reviews, or search Google for screenshots. In a world where video games are such a huge business, legal disclaimers, unfortunately, take priority for the companies making these things. But that doesn't mean they're all bad nowadays. Some game covers nowadays do still manage to be pretty sick. Take Shadow of Mordor, for example. We're treated to this big, awesome art of the protagonist on a battlefield, a dagger in one hand and a severed head in the other. Then there's the 3 screenshots, which are fairly small, but they still manage to show off the game's beautiful world with 3 very different aspects of the gameplay being presented. Then we get the technical info, how many players, hard drive space, output settings, etc. Then, finally, we have the legal stuff, made as minimal as possible. This is a great example of a modern game back done well. About 70% of the back is helpful information that you're actually going to look at. That's much better than Far Cry 4's staggeringly low 20%. Nintendo's a fairly good example of this. Their game backs are usually still pretty crammed with a lot of neat stuff. The Smash Bros. Back uses only about 60% of the back, but they stuffed it with as much exciting stuff as they possibly could. It's interesting the things that change over time, the things that no one really seems to notice or care about. Some change more drastically than others. The Assassin's Creed franchise always serves as my favorite example. As you can see, or, well, you can't see, my camera goes out of focus, Okay, so take a look at the back of Assassin's Creed. Huge art, lots of info, master the art of the kill. It's sick, it's awesome. Then we get the legal stuff, and that makes the helpful info take about 70% of the back. Now, Assassin's Creed 2, a little bit smaller, slightly less info. It takes up about 50% of the back. Brotherhood, 40%? Revelations, well, 35%. Assassin's Creed 3, 30%. It gets smaller and smaller with every game. But that's a franchise made purely to make money. They don't give a shit about having an appealing case. They know people are going to buy the game regardless. Instead, they're more concerned about shoving all of the legal information, all of the exclusive content. Whoa, we get a bonus mission on PS3. Who gives a shit? Show me some cool art. Give me something that I can look at and be interested in. Well, let's take a look at a much more loved Ubisoft franchise. Rayman, hell yeah! Ubisoft Montpellier is one of the few divisions of Ubisoft that I can tell really pours love into their creations. Their games have seen a much better evolution than that of Ubisoft Montreal. Rayman 1's back has some neat little tiny cartoons, lots of info telling you about how much content the game offers, with 3 screenshots. There's hardly any legal information at all, so little in fact that it only requires 5% of the back. Rayman 2? Let's use a Dreamcast version so we're dealing with the same amount of space here. Almost the same deal, but this time we get 4 screens and a large image of Rayman's brand new glorious 3D model chilling in the background. Legal stuff? About 10% of the back, a little bit more, but not too bad. Rayman 3, still pretty good. A big header of the brand new villain, 3 screenshots, an image of a very drunk Glowbox, and the text telling us about the game. Legal stuff here is about 25%. Alright, let's skip forward all the way to Rayman Legends. Let's cut to the chase here. It's still going pretty strong with the legal info only taking up about 30% of the back. That's way better than Assassin's Creed 4's ridiculous 70%. I guess I would compare this to buying music nowadays. Back in the day, you had these big vinyl record cases that had all of this cool art, the lyrics, everything. But now we buy music digitally and no one really cares about that kind of stuff anymore. We just want to listen to the song. Despite how times have changed, I still like to sit down every now and then and just appreciate the people that still piece these things together for our eyes to smoothly glaze over. So now I want to ask you guys, what are some of your favorite game backs? What have you noticed how things have changed over the years? I hope you guys enjoyed the video, so thanks for watching.